Hello YouTube, this is Lego Tech, and today we're going to be doing a bit of a video going over the entire issues surrounding the Swanton Pacific Railroad in the Santa Cruz Mountains in California. Now this drama, or situation I should say, has been apparently going on for over 2 years, since after the 2020 CZU lightning fires, or I think it was actually a baby showers fire, but that's not the point, hit the rail yard on the Swan Pacific Ranch. Now, I don't have all the information here, but this is what they have said. I'm going to do another video later on with more information. And without further ado, we're going to go over all the Facebook posts that the railroad has posted updating people. And this starts actually on November 17th. So this is not even a month old. So currently the date is the 7th as I'm recording this. The first news article was posted on the 2nd of Friday, which means that this has been going on, or being planned at least, for 2 weeks, you would notice, but this actually has been going on prior to that by about 2 years, which is why I said that earlier. Let's begin. For 2 years, Swanton Pacific Railroad has patiently waited on Cal Poly University for answers and permission to begin rebuilding from the CZU Lightning Complex fires. Right there should be a massive red flag. But let's continue. Phone calls and emails to multiple staff and the Dean of the College of Agriculture have gone unanswered, and meeting requests were completely ignored. Today we have one answer. The staff at the Swanton Pacific Ranch have changed all the locks on every railroad building, all of our storage containers and cabooses. Our board members and volunteers were not notified and do not know the reasoning for this abrupt change. We no longer have access to any of the historic railroad equipment Al Smith trusted Cal Poly with after his passing. This is a developing story. As we gather more information, it will be shared here. So essentially, the railroad was denied information and denied the ability to even work. Now, Cal Poly has estimated the damages to be over $10 million, but there's some stuff they could be allowed to work on, but that wouldn't cost much money, or any money. And there's one comment I think here that I think we should point out. Hope you found a good lawyer to review all the railroad and property-related paperwork. Yeah, it definitely should be. Next post here. This was on November 18th, day after, I think. Yeah, that was on the 17th. This is on the 18th. Being locked out of the railroad was only the beginning. Below is the letter received this evening from Din Thuman of Cal Poly College in Agriculture and Food and Environmental Sciences. Please read the full letter and let us know what you think in the comments. Now is the time for constructive conversation. Let's actually see what the letter says. Oh, wait, no. Remember, I'm not gonna find it because I don't know where it is, but Cal Poly University, their motto is learn by doing. There's something I'm seeing that they're gonna learn how to do during this action if they continue with this. Swan Pacific Ranch Railroad volunteers. I'm writing with an update about Swan Pacific Ranch Railroad. First, please know that the work of the entire railroad society is helping with the recovery of artifacts and cleanup of the railroad facilities following the 2020 fire is greatly appreciated. As you know, we've spent the past 2 years working hard to clean up the ranch to get it up and running for future ongoing use. I appreciate your patience as we focused on the ranch. Getting our facility, staff, and students back on the ranch safely for research and learning remains our top priority. As you're more than aware, most all railroad facilities and equipment were destroyed, while several physical structures specific to the railroad were covered by insurance policies in place at the time of the fire. The actual rolling stock, parts inventory, specialized equipment, and railroad tracks were not covered by the insurance policy in effect at the time of the fire. Current rolling stock repair estimates are produced and reviewed by the subject matter experts are more than $10 million. I'm going to just stop right there. I do not think it's going to cost $10 million to repair that. One locomotive just needs to be reassembled right now, and you can leave the rest being repaired slowly over time, as well as that 504, the diesel locomotive, is also operational, just needs a few repairs with some wheels. And you have 2 locomotives there that can do more than all the work necessary. That's first of all. Second of all, in my place where I live, we're doing a remodel on my house, and it's only costing us $300K, and I don't live too far from this place, only like 30 miles, I think. I live in the same relative area. I live in Silicon Valley. I'll be generous here and say rebuilding the roundhouse and the coach shop is going to cost like $500,000 each. That's if, might I say, if you are including labor, but remember these are all volunteers and they can do that themselves. Then you have all the equipment there, and the volunteers can do all the rebuilding themselves, most, if not almost all. There is some stuff that's going to need to be exported. Now, coach and locomotive restoration and other equipment, I can understand. Yeah, maybe it might need to be some exported, but reassembly and rebuilding, I would assume, of a lot of coaches and whatnot, could be done by volunteers. So I think this $10 million price point is greatly inflated. I think at maximum it would probably cost like maybe 5, maybe 6 million, possibly 7 if I'm stretching it. But that's if you're paying someone to do the labor, but these are all volunteers. So I think that is just an inflated price to make things look worse than they are. And then also, don't forget here, I've seen colleges spend much more than that on just random projects that don't even succeed all the time. Sometimes they'll drop 20, 30, 40, maybe even 50 million on a project, especially considering we're in California, where you're seeing a lot of bogus projects be done that don't matter, but then projects that do don't. It's weird. So I guess this is just like the government. And while FEMA reimbursement may cover a small portion of that, it will not cover all, leaving a significant financial exposure to the university. Just to be clear, the funding we recently received from the state budget is restricting to build an education center on the ranch. None of these funds can be used for the railroad. Whoever said anything about an education center, I don't think the will that Albert Smith sent to you guys said, oh yeah, in 30 or 29 years when I'm dead, you can then rip up the railroad and put on an education center. What? Where do you get the funds? Who approved this? Oh, probably the same person that said this is going to cost $10 million because they're not, this is not real. They're just pulling this out of their ass as they go. With our need to focus all of our efforts on the core educational elements of ranch operations, and given the expected cost to restore the railroad, we no longer believe the university is the best steward of these unique artifacts of railroad history. Therefore, consistent with Al Smith's wishes, at the time of his gift, we have made the decision to begin the process of transferring the railroad to an entity that can restore and take care of these invaluable assets. We have already discussed this with the Smith family, so they are aware of the decision. Keyword here, they said aware, not happy with the decision. I'm pretty sure that they know that, let's say, I don't know Al Smith's family, either his wife, maybe his son or daughter, they're probably going, that's not what Al would have wanted. He would have wanted to stay together. So I'm thinking they're wording this very carefully. And second of all, okay, let's say that this is too much for you to handle, which is bogus because I've seen universities will drop more than that, but that's not the point, even though this is state funded. I'm pretty sure state funded. You could just transfer the land into a different community, and the railroad could fund it it's themselves. And what also happened to the funds for the restoration? What happened to those funds that were coming in two years ago from the CZU fires? Oh well, let's continue. We have hired a consultant who has developed an inventory of assets, including their valuation and repair status. As Al Smith spelled out in his gift, we will be contacting the California State Railroad Museum to see if they would like to receive any of these important artifacts of railroad history. Based on the outcome of that conversation, we may need to contact additional potential stewards of the assets. Our goal now is to be true to Al Smith's wishes that these artifacts are both preserved and made available to the public. Additional potential stewards of the assets. That's not a good idea. You know what that would mean? It's going to break up the collection. What Al Smith wanted was the Swan Pacific Ranch to be the forever home of this equipment. It was separated after 1915 until he started to reacquire it in the 80s. That is pretty much a 65-year gap, okay, at the minimum. Point is, you're doing what Al Smith does not want. He does not want the collection to be removed from the property, unless it's like maybe some sort of trip and, maybe Santa Cruz Boardwalk, or maybe they're doing an event over in San Francisco like in 1915. But the point is he wants to keep the collection together, and the ranch was supposed to be the forever home of all this equipment. I'm sorry if I'm ranting on a lot of this, but this is just something that hits hard, or pisses me off because I live nearby and there's not much railroad stuff around here these days. I know your passion for the railroad runs deep, and we hope through that your passion will help us find an organization that has the resources and mission. Wait, so you guys don't have resources? But you said you had I'm not even going to understand the hypocrisy there. A mission that will ensure that both the preservation and public access of the railroad artifacts. I recognize this is not the outcome for the railroad that you had hoped for, but hope we cannot count on your support. We can count on your support and assistance as we move through this process. You know, the passion and the organization that was supposed to take care of this was you, Cal Poly. Albert Smith entrusted not just the ranch and the railroad, but that you would keep it together like he wanted. This is just a petty cash grab of a guy who's already 6 feet under. This is absolutely disgusting. You're taking advantage of a dead man. Think about that. This man can't talk back or fight back, do anything, or even speak. He's 6 foot under. You were supposed to respect his wishes of his gift, and you are completely disrespecting it. California is extremely corrupt. I hope if they have to remove this, they can just move these locomotives out of state, get them out of California. This is a torture place. I've been thinking about leaving too, like everybody else. I think these locomotives should just leave if they are not going to respect it. Oh boy, now we're going to get into the donations part. I also want to address the financial donations to the railroad that came in post-fire. Our intent is to utilize those funds to safely transfer the railroad artifacts to their new owner to preserve the integrity of the original intent of those recent donations, to support the restoration of the Swanton Pacific Ranch Railroad assets. It does not cost 50 grand, and I bet there's more money that was donated than that. They're trying to douse it, like say, oh, it's costing less than that, so someone can pocket the money. Because someone's pocketing this money. It's all leading down to the money here. I want to reiterate that this was a very difficult decision. No, it was not. This was a planned decision since 2020, and you know it, because of you guys have constantly been ignoring the railroad operators. The railroad was a unique part of the Swanton Pacific Ranch. We all know that Al Smith got great pleasure in helping to preserve locomotives and provide the public the opportunity to learn about how important steam locomotives were to build the building of this country. Yeah, well, California would not have existed without them, and I'm starting to think it would have been a better idea if they didn't. Because they've seen what you guys have done. I bet, Central Pacific would have said, oh, maybe we should build the Transcontinental Railroad. Country. I firmly believe that getting these priceless assets into the hands of an entity whose core mission is to restore and make them accessible to the public would be what Al wanted. Well, that's what Al Smith thought you guys were supposed to do, entrusted you guys to do with, when he donated not just the railroad, but the entire ranch. You guys are going against exactly what he wanted. You guys are just trying to twist his words because he's 6 foot under and cannot do anything about it. You are taking advantage of a dead man. Completely disgusting. Thank you again for your patience as we navigate this post-fire disaster. Andy. Okay, well, I'm not too sure about if Andy had anything to do with this decision-making. Quite frankly, maybe he is just being paid for damage control, so I'm going to want to reiterate this many times. Do not send hate to any of these people. As much as I do not like them, sending hate is not going to fix the situation, as well as that, it's just going to make people turn away from anybody who's in favor of saving this piece of history here from California. What I recommend you do is what the next post says. Oh wait, let me quickly comments. Curtis S. Ferguson. I'm curious as to the experts who they consulted. With the proper allowances and freedoms, the railroad probably didn't need the financing of the university and most likely could have fundraised it and to finance its own rebuilding and operations. Spot on. There's no indication as to who the experts were. It was not anyone previously associated with the Swanton Pacific Railroad. Yeah, that's true. As I forget the head of the Swanton Pacific Railroad owns or operates this account, and she was the one who posted it. Swanton Pacific Railroad. That is worrisome. Who they talk to may be very good and upstanding people. However, there are some experts who would like to see the ranch fail to force an auction to get a chance to acquire some of the equipment. Yes, that's exactly what they would want to do. As is the case that outside experts are chosen to give the veneer independence to the decision that management have already taken, when as an outside consultant, our company queried and validity of a proposed project, the client openly asks, "Do you want these fees? We're sure that blank will have them if you don't." Yep. Well, the problem here is that Cal Poly does not care about you or anybody. Now we're going to get into the next post. This is the one on November 21st, so this was 3 days after. And then there was like just a few more after that. They were more small. From the Swanton Pacific Railroad president in response to Dean Thun's email. Sorry if I mispronounced anybody's names or words. As can be readily seen in the email from Dean Thuman, he has no care for the railroad and is most interested in disposing of this complication to the Swan Pacific Ranch. His email is directed to the Swan Pacific Ranch Railroad. There is no such entity as the Ranch Railroad under the Memorandum of Understanding issued in June of 1999. On page 5, the organizational chart shows the director of the railroad and the director of the ranch to be at equal rank. Now keep that in mind here. Now from what I'm hearing, or I need to check, the ranch has been getting funds and support to rebuild since the fires hit the ranch. However, the railroad has been on the back burner, in fact, has been completely ignored, as you heard earlier in the video. In footnote B, the procedure for appointing a railroad director is discussed. This procedure has not been followed with either the appointment of Charlie Crabb or Mark Swisher as railroad director. The Railroad Executive Board was not consulted other than being informed after the fact. This is your director. In the Memorandum of Understanding, dated September 9th, 1999, the ranch is referred to as Swanton Pacific Railroad Ranch. I believe a comma was forgotten. But I do find it somewhat humorous today. The railroad is an odd entity at Cal Poly, in that it is not a student club or sport team, where the students are little more than pawns on a chessboard to be moved about at the discretion of the facility in charge. The cost, okay, now I'm going to quickly say this. This person here has, would know a lot of this cost, most likely more than anybody else because she works on the equipment, and I think she actually was the one in the news report who's been around since a child on the ranch railroad, so she would probably know the most about this. More than anyone else. The cost estimated of $10 million to rebuild the railroad is not an unreasonable sum. If you are paying people to do all the work to rebuild the equipment, the railroad is a volunteer organization, and as such, we generally do not pay people to do every task. We have paid people to perform grounds maintenance, surveying the right-of-way in anticipation of restoring the right-of-way by a contractor, FEMA cost estimates, and work on the 1913 and 1912, such as boiler work and very specialized machining. As volunteers, we have built both the maintenance of way MOW equipment and passenger cars. I see no reason this cannot happen in the future. We as volunteers have undertaken the reconstruction of several buildings, the construction of others, and a bridge. I do not believe Cal Poly has a good understanding of how to deal with volunteer endeavors like ours. This is the same lack of understanding has applied to the organization I was highly involved in as a student at Cal Poly, Rose Float. Okay, now I'm going to quickly go over a few ways you can help, and I would actually think if you are saying, oh, I'm not going to attend Cal Poly anyway, or I don't live nearby, or I'm not even in California, maybe I'm in another state or country, I would still recommend you try and send in an email. I'm doing the same thing, because if you are, for instance, let's say I get 3 viewers who are going to send me an email. One's in Ohio, one's in Oregon, and another's in Florida. Just 3 random states. If you say, hey, I'm such and such, and I'm in this state, and I disapprove of this action, it'll make the university realize, oh crap, this bad move we decide to do, it's not just being shown in Silicon Valley, just California, it's being shown out across the United States. And it could be even worse if, you get someone from Canada or someone from Europe that also responds to this. But let's continue. How can we affect a change in attitude with regard to the future of the railroad? Write email letters to California Paratechnical State University, any of those people. You may choose to copy D. Thuman and F. Calmey at Cal Poly EDU. If you have donated to the railroad fund as part of Swan Pacific Ranch Recover fundraising effort, then you may wish to request a refund as the funds you are funds are not being used as your donation was intended. Please also express your displeasure with the lack of transparency and consideration presented to the Swan Pacific Railroad Society during the past 2 years. If you have been awaiting, past 2 years, that's how little respect they have. Now keep that in mind, 2 years. If you've been awaiting the restart of the railroad activities before making a donation, then please contact the above stating so and your displeasure with the lack of consideration for the Railroad Society. If you are an individual that has made donations to or has thought about making donations to Cal Poly in the future, contacting the above expressing your displeasure with the Dean's actions would also be beneficial. Please write to the above soon. Time is of the essence. Swan Pacific Railroad is rebuildable. It may take a few years. I see so many great learn by doing and hands-on projects. Jeff Tobin. Swan Pacific Railroad site. I want to say something here. So I'm actually a California resident. Like I said, I live not too far here. I actually was planning as a college student, because I'm going to a 2-year university right now, or not 2-year university, 2-year community college first. I'm going to transfer to a 4-year university for my last 2 years. I was actually thinking of going to Cal Poly because I like the motto, learn by doing, and I was also going to start to volunteer here this summer because I'm getting my driver's license and a job and everything, and I could actually do that. I could afford to do that. If Cal Poly continues to go with this, I will go find another university to go to. I want to go to Cal Poly, but this is disgusting, and if they decide to go through this, I will not support them at all. I will drop entire support. I thought that learn by doing. Actually, let's go search that up right now. Oh wait, probably wrong one. My bad. Cal Poly, learn by doing. Learn by doing. That's their motto. I want you to keep that in mind. But oh well, that's not the point of this video. Okay, now let's go to the last view. What are you thankful for? We're thankful for Al Smith's passions of trains, education, preserving history, and his desire to share the passion of knowledge with others. We're also thankful for everyone dedicated to carry on Al's dream and the train family we have all become. I'm thankful for the volunteers who are trying to make Al's legacy live on. Yes, man. And now this is when they get the announcement from the university. And then Derek Whale says, I'm very curious to see what Al said in his original bequest. It's possibly illegal to break up the collection or end operations at Swanton. I seriously hope that's the case. And to anyone here who's thinking of donating something in the future, maybe make sure you add something like that. Like, let's say somehow you do something like you're in New York and you get the New York Pacific Railroad or Eastern Railroad or whatever. Maybe see about adding something like that. Don't break up the collection, and it cannot be moved off the site unless for a specific event, temporary event, something like that. And then there was another one here that came out one day ago, and that it says, James Emerson said, I thought that gift of land required them to maintain the train. Maybe the gift needs to be returned then. Yeah, they should return the land with it. And here's the last one here that came out just yesterday, 9:51 a.m. What happened to Al Smith's dream? See the video posted by Cal Poly that begins with the railroad. Now, I'm not going to click on it here because I don't want to get copyright strike from Cal Poly. But what happened to the money raised after the fire? And will you be challenging the decisions in court? I think that's sadly going to have to happen. Some sort of court legal case is going to have to happen in this situation. For now, that's it. I would recommend, if you have Facebook, follow them on Facebook and also follow them on YouTube. Apparently people have been, because they were under 400 before this drama happened, and now they have been growing. I also think they have an Instagram, but that's inactive. They have been very active on Facebook and semi-active on YouTube. They've been trying to continue to make videos whenever they have something to post, but that's not the point. The point is, if you can follow them, give them more attention, please do, and have a good day. I don't know. Have a good night, a good day, whatever. Stupid messages. Okay, well, yeah. Like they said, send out an email, request a refund for your donation if you sent one out. It's not okay what they're doing here in the situation, and no one should tolerate this. Anyway, have a good night, or good morning, or good afternoon, and thank you for taking the time out of your day to watch this. Bye-bye.